Hello friends, this is Precautions from IITC. Today we are going to see a very important topic, excavation safety. There were a number of requests sent to me personally to make one small training material on excavation safety, considering excavation hazards and different type of excavation hazards and different type of safety control measures for respective safety hazards and how we can minimize the excavation related incidents. So today we are going to see very quickly about this one. So guys, this is about me. I will not go through line by line. I will request you to go through when you have some time separately. These are the exclusive services what is provided by IITC. We will not read line by line. These are the key competencies of our team where we support industries, we provide services to the industries on various subjects and topics. So guys, here IITC is happy to allow you to use this slide to train your operation team, maintenance team, construction team, engineering team, and all associated people who are directly or indirectly involved in excavation activity. And IITC also allows you to use this slide for safety moment. Safety moments are used for training people and to train your front end people before the work starts. You can also use safety moment for before going for any training, any meeting to make them aware on all these things. There are learning points in this module. We will see the different hazards associated with excavations. Yes, we are going to see each and every hazard associated with excavation line by line. And secondly, we will see the precautions against each hazard. If time permits in this module or otherwise, we will skip these precautions against each hazard in next module, because I want to give this module as simple, as short as possible so that you can get all this information very quickly in the robust way. And we are going to see separate training module for soil classification, for protective system, for sloping and benching, for shielding, for excavation inspection, for excavation rescue. Let us start with first hazard of excavation activities. As you know that there are many times there were incidents related to the electrical wire cut, related to damage of communication cable and damage of underground pipelines. In most of the time when we are allowing any excavation activities, we do not know what are the underneath services where we are going to do this excavation. So there are hazards of digging. So we must ensure that there is no cable, there is no live cable where we are going to do the excavation. This has to be done in advance by scanning, by doing survey, by doing foresight excavation, sample excavation, so that we identify there is no electrical cables available underneath the ground. And second is there is a possibility of any communication cable cutting. Many times I have seen that there is no internet, there is no electricity because the internet cable has been damaged during excavation. So this is very important point. We must ensure, we must identify before excavation starts through the permit. We are going to see the how to control the hazards in other sheet or in other module, because I don't want to give cumbersome information in one slide, in one presentation. In most of the time in the industry, there are underground services like underground pipeline for the LPG, underground pipeline of chemicals, underground pipeline of drainage, underground pipeline of water pipeline, and many more. So these pipelines are hazardous because this pipeline may be carrying hazardous chemical. So these are the hazards of the digging. How to control this activity, probably we will see in the another training module in other slide, so that you get all this information regarding the hazard in this module. The second very important hazard of excavation is limited access or limited egress, because excavations are not made for daily use. You agree with me, right? We are going to do the excavation for some non-routine activities, for some construction, or something. Secondly, the trench and pits are congested in terms of access and egress. So sometimes in pit and trench there are many more people, and if something goes wrong, then everybody has to be evacuated. So limited access and egress is another hazard for excavation, and it is very difficult to go in and out from the trench very oftenly. So this is the second hazard, egress and access. Due to the limited egress and access is the second hazard for the excavation. So as you know that in construction site there are use of mobile equipments like crane, like forklifts, like dozer, like JCBs. So this can also create a problem. Excavation creates harder to normal vehicle and traffic movement. Trenches, pits are not made for daily use. That happens during the construction activity only. We all are familiar with that. And where there is excavation and nearby the excavation, if there is a movement of crane, there is a movement of buses, there are movement of trucks, there are movements of forklifts. This can create soil collapse. So this can create a problem while excavation activity or while working in the excavation part. If the trench is created for main road near the main road, or so what will happen if the trench is created near the main road? This can create a problem for traffic movement or vehicular movement, and it is very difficult to move whenever the heavy vehicle, whenever the heavy vehicle, heavy vehicle like cranes, big trailer, etc. near the excavation area. So we have to be clear, we have to be very vigilant where we are going to do the excavation. We need to identify the divergent road so that vehicles can go without hurting you, without collapsing the slide, without compromising the safety in case of any excavation or in case of any deep excavation. And the vehicular movement can also create a problem for construction worker. So it is very important that we need to have the traffic control to keep workers separate from the moving vehicle. And where there is not possible to use the safe system of work, so definitely traffic safety vest must be used to identify that these are the people who are working in the construction. And in case of night, that reflective jacket, reflective vest has to be used so that truck driver, crane driver can identify that there is people working nearby, so that they can have a control on the vehicle speed, vehicle direction, and all these things. In construction, falling personnel oblique object in the excavated part is quite likely. See, unbarricaded, unguarded trench, unguarded pit will act as a falling hazard. So there is a likelihood that people and material may fall in the trench or in the pit. Sometimes worker may also fall. So that it is very essential for us to barricade the excavated part so that people or driver or other people will know that it is excavation and they have to take their precautions. During construction activity, as you know that there are SIMOPS, simultaneous activities are going together, like vehicular movement, fabrication activity, material handling, and housekeeping, and whatnot. So this SIMOPS activity may carry additional risk along with excavation, because sometimes if it is unguarded, unbarricaded, definitely people will fall. So that means it is our responsibility as a supervisor, as a construction manager, as a safety engineer, we have to ensure that each and every excavated part must be barricaded and must be hard barricaded. An accidental fall in the excavation is quite common phenomena. That means we must learn from our past mistakes, or we must learn from others' mistakes. Because as per mass laws, they say that what can go wrong will go wrong. We have to prepare for the worst. We have to take precautions. So we have to be very careful regarding the hard barricading near the excavation area. So unguarded, unbarricaded pit will act as a falling hazard. Operator operate the vehicle too close to the edge of the excavation. You can imagine if you have done some excavation and some vehicle is going on the edge of the excavation, what will happen? So it will collapse. So that means when there is excavation, we need to have some safe distance for the vehicular movement. So we need to identify all these things in advance. Second, collapse of the excavation due to the heavy vehicular movement. Yes, quite possible, as we discussed earlier. Worker being stuck by excavating machine, uh, for example, a bucket of the excavator or backhoe. So this will also, have to be considered during the excavation activity. Vehicles being driven into the excavation due to the driver's error, inadequate barriers, or absence of the stop block. So I mean to say that you or I being a senior, I being a serious and sincere employee, we have to be very clear when there is excavation. We must do a hard barricading so that this can be avoided. Few precautions for falling personnel and object control. Fence off all excavation edges and areas. If possible, do a hard barricading. In excavation, only hard barricadings are required. Soft barricadings may not be helpful. Provide walkways for worker pedestrian to cross the excavation. Surface 6 feet, 6 feet or deeper level shall be protected by walkways with guard rail system. Other options may you need to have the warning line, warning system, safety sign board, and safety monitoring system should be there in place so that we can avoid this kind of falling hazards. Yeah, this is very important point. Atmospheric hazards are very important and severe for excavation, specifically in the industry. First is toxic hazard. So when you are doing excavation and after completing your shift, you are going out and you do not know what has happened nearby the equipments. There is a possibility of some toxic gases which are heavier in nature goes inside the trench like S2S. So that is why for toxic gases in excavation you need to consider it as a confined space. You need to do all the gas testing before allowing people to go inside the trench so that you can avoid toxic exposure. Flammable, likewise, there is a possibility of flammable gas like methane, ethane or heavier can go there and get settled. Oxygen deficiency in excavation, if there is deep excavation, there is a possibility that oxygen level can go down less than 19.5, which is hazardous to the human health. Oxygen enrichment is possible. How oxygen enrichment is possible? Say for example, you are doing welding and cutting by oxyacetylene cylinder, and after the shift, if the oxygen cylinder is remains open, and because of leak from the torch or the pipe from pipeline, oxygen may go there inside the trench, and this can create oxygen enrichment, and this is very hazardous. So we need to do a permit to work system when we are going to enter in the excavation site again after the next shift. And poor illumination, poor ventilation is also one of the hazards in the atmospheric section for the excavation safety. Now we are going to see atmospheric hazard control. So competent person shall test the excavation deeper than 4 feet if the hazardous atmosphere is suspected. This is possible in the industry where there is a possibility of a chemical spill, where there is possibility of chemical purge, gas purge. So if the excavation is deeper than 4 feet, it must be tested by a competent person. Should include the LEL, oxygen level, CO2, CO level, S2S, petroleum, and other toxic gases which is applicable for your industry. Provide suitable and sufficient control measures in case of hazardous environment. If you feel that it is suspected to have S2S or some other toxic chemical, so appropriately you should provide a respirator protection or ventilation. Appropriate emergency rescue equipment must be provided to the worker. Ensure all any hazardous gas and vapors are displaced and removed. And we need to ensure that is the contaminant heavier than air or lighter than air. If it is heavier, then we have to be more cautious because you never know the gas will go inside the trench and it will sit there until unless you remove it. Second, either contaminate exhausting or blowing in. We need to see that these contaminants are, exhausting from other equipments or blowing in from other equipments or other location. And then we decide what volume per time required to lower the concentration to acceptable limit. We need to do the ventilation, purging so that toxic contamination concentration is down than the acceptable level. Atmosphere testing is done regularly. We must do atmosphere testing regularly. Any excavation more than 1.5, 1.2 meter or deeper shall be treated as a confined space. This has been discussed earlier also, and we have got separate beautiful program for confined space entry. I would request you to, rather I will urge you, after this program, please go through training program on confined space. You will get each and every information crystal clear so that you can educate yourself. You can educate your team. You can educate your fellow members. And this is very important to protect us from the toxic hazardous environment in terms of excavation. So another hazard is water accumulation oblique flooding. This is a common phenomenon where the water table is very high, or if the digging is done nearby the storage tank, pond, or any other water bodies. So the possible hazards are engulfment. People who are working inside the trench can get engulfment, collapse the excavation, and personal injury oblique death is also possible. There were some cases in the past in Middle East countries. People were doing the excavation. There was a landslide. There was a collapse of the excavation due to the water body, and people died. So I mean to say that we being a leader, we being a supervisor, we being the construction manager, we are being the safety engineer or manager, we are responsible to manage the safety of our people. So these are the precautions against water accumulation and flooding. Water removal or pumping system must be monitored by a competent person so that there is no accumulation of water inside the trench. Competent person monitors runoff from the heavy rains. If in case you are doing excavation during rainy season, there is a possibility of a heavy rains may flood your excavation. So competent person must be monitor that. Use of divergent ditches and dikes. So sometimes we need to divert the running water or runoff water due to rain in such a way that it will not go to the trench or excavation. Consider temporary shut off of the water line. Sometimes you can shut off the water line if it is not essential for their process and for other things. You can see from slide here, there is a possibility of excavation collapse and cabin hazards. This is one of the vital phenomena during the excavation. So this can create personal injury, this can create property damage, this may create engulfment. So this is one of the major hazards of the excavation. Second, excavation collapse and caving. Protection from the collapse and caving require a systematic approach including soil classification. We must do the soil classification study. We must have a protective system. We must have regular inspection, and employee training is very important. Then we need to know what type of soil we are working with, type A, type B, or type C. This is what we are going to see in the detail either in the next slide or in the next presentation. Guys, important safety measures is a sloping. Sloping is a technique that employs a specific angle of inclination on the side of the excavation. The angle of the slope may vary from soil to soil, from size of excavation. Benching is where the slide of excavations are known down to the steps. So here soil type A, soil type B, soil type C is given here, and the slope angle is mentioned over here. For type A soil, 3/4:1, and degree of inclination is 50 degree. For soil B is 1:1, 45 degree. For C, 11/2:1, 34. So this is very important points what we need to remember. Here in this slide you can see the various soil type and the angles. This you can go through as your convenience. Type A 3/4:1, type B 1:1, type C 1 1/2:1. This you can go through as per your time convenience. Excavation collapse and cave controls shielding and shoring. Shield, a structure able to withstand a cave in and protect workers, also known as a trench box or trench shield. This you can see in the example. Shoring, a structure that support the shield of the excavation and protect against the cave-in and collapse. The examples are mentioned over here. You can see the various angles, various figure in this drawing so that you can understand clearly. So in this slide you can see different methods of cave-in control. Shoring methods are given over here. See, this can be done, this you can use, and this you can use. So this you can also use for different method of this one. Other examples and other samples for excavation collapse and cave-in controls are given over here. See, this is how we can support, and this is how we can support. These are different examples what we can. During excavation, entrapment with moving equipments are quite likely because the things are very dynamic in the construction activity. There are some excavation work is going on, there are some simultaneous work is going on, so it can create a personal injury or health issue. It can also damage the property. You can see how we can entrap. This is how we can entrap. This is how we can entrap during construction activity and excavation activity. Entrapment with moving equipments, there are some controls. Use only authorized, qualified, certified operator. Provide trained and authorized banksman with moving equipments. Banksman always be positioned within the eye span of the operator. This is a very important control measures so that vehicle could not hit any personnel. He will allow keep safe distance from the equipment. Equipment must be inspected and certified. This is very important point. Equipment must follow the posted speed limit at the site. There are speed limit for each side, and equipment must follow the correct speed limit at site. Daily inspection checklist must be followed by competent person, and entry to the area must be restricted. Everybody should not be allowed in this congested construction areas. These are the few scenario. These are few examples. We can see that this a vehicle may hit these people, and this vehicle must have the reverse horn so that this operator can be warned. These are another bad example of excavation safety. Precautions underground services, what we discuss as number one, we need to have a job safety analysis before starting any excavation to ensure that underground services and utilities are not impaired. LOTO, lockout takeout system must be there. LMRA, last minute risk assessment has to be there. Warning sign and alarm must be there. Supervision should be in place. Inspection of the site before start of the job. And definitely permit to work system should be there so that we can identify all the risks and hazard in place. Learning and skill development. Separate training program module we have developed. Soil classification, protective systems, sloping and benching, shielding, excavation inspection, and excavation rescue. Guys, I would request you to go through this training module which is available in IITC channel. You please find out this channel, this module, and go through at your convenience. And I am very sure after going through this program, you will have a very good information ideas so that you can prevent all accidents. All accidents are preventable and health hazards are containable. Mind it. So this depends on how you take care. I would request all of you to please subscribe this channel, and so that you can get the update of our other training module on time. And I will again request you to please share this link or this module with other your friends so that they can also get the benefit. There are many certificate courses available on our on our site. You can go through that when you need. Please share your comments in the comment section board, which is the power for us to improvise, to come up with new ideas, new modules, so that you and people can be benefited by and large. With this, thank you very much. Jai Hind, Jai Bharat. Thank you.